noticed a huge aphid infestation in my garden, mainly on a lot of my pepper plants, and all of the leaves were just coated in aphids and I couldn't blast them all off with a hose without damaging the plants. And I don't use pesticides, so I was a bit discouraged getting hit with a huge infestation so late in the season. I saw a few ladybugs crawling around a couple days after I noticed the infestation, so I got really excited. Ladybugs will hang out where there's aphids, and they will choose to lay their eggs where there's a decent food source. And I was able to watch a few life cycles of these ladybugs for a few weeks, and I have to say, it was one of the coolest things to see. I've seen parts of each cycle in my garden before, but never like this. Usually I'd just see a few eggs and larvae, and then the adults would fly away quickly. As with all beneficial insects, I think it's important to be able to identify each stage of their life cycle. The changes are often so extreme that if you didn't know them, you could end up getting rid of them at various stages, and as we all know, ladybugs are extremely beneficial in the garden. Let's start at the beginning, the eggs. You'll often find them in large clusters like this, and they are orange in color and oval shaped, so don't squish these. After the eggs hatch, they move into their larval stage. The larva also might look like something you don't want in your garden. If I had no information about a ladybug's life cycle, I'd think these were bad. But actually, ladybug larva is your garden's best defense against an aphid infestation. Mature or adult ladybugs do eat aphids, but the larvae are more voracious eaters, and they can clean an infested plant quickly. My plants were covered in dozens of ladybug larvae, and the plant got stripped clean of aphids in just a few days. Once the larvae are a few days old, they start to curl up to begin pupation. Then they start to turn orange and start to develop an exoskeleton, and then they turn an orangish, reddish color, and then they turn more red as they fully mature. And while many will fly away, the hope is that a decent amount will stick around and mate and continue to lay their eggs. Ladybugs can live for about a year or so, and they do tend to become less active in the fall and winter and then pick back up in the spring and summer, but they might move on from your garden once they get rid of most of the aphids, but it's not uncommon for them to make an appearance again towards the end of summer or early in the fall when some gardens, like mine, might see more aphids. And one thing you may notice about these ladybugs is that they don't have any dots on them. That's not uncommon. They can have dots or none at all, but they are still ladybugs. And ladybugs are more specifically beetles. And there is another beetle, the Asian lady beetle, that looks similar to a ladybug but can actually cause damage to a garden. To tell if you have ladybugs or Asian lady beetles, look at their shape. Ladybugs are more round, whereas the Asian lady beetles are more oval. You should also look at the area where their head meets their wings, and if you see a black M, then you have an Asian lady beetle. So now you know how to identify eggs, larvae, and then the pupal stages of ladybugs, and also how to distinguish between them and Asian lady beetles. And if you do see a large infestation of aphids, carefully examine your plants and see if you can spot any signs of ladybug activity first. If you do, then you can rest easy and let nature do its thing.